You're listening to the J.D. Rucker Show. Let's begin. Absolute immunity. That is what the President of the United States enjoys while engaging in official acts under constitutional authority. And the Supreme Court affirmed that today. It's something that has always been the case, by the way. This isn't something new. But they affirmed that while engaged in official acts under constitutional authority, in other words, their actions as president that are official, the president has absolute immunity. Now, there are going to be times when the president is not engaged in official acts. And when engaged under those unofficial acts, if they were to commit a crime, then that doesn't qualify for this immunity. Just as an example, if Donald Trump were to go, even when he was president, if he were to go outside and randomly shoot somebody and kill them, he does not enjoy absolute immunity from that. Now, people will say, well, technically speaking, he would while he's president, but again, he could still be prosecuted after the fact once he leaves the Oval Office. I'm not a constitutional scholar, but that part is pretty straightforward. The parts that aren't straightforward are the parts that people are going to be talking about ad nauseum today. If you're on the left, you're going to be talking about how this puts him above the law. And if you're on the right, you're going to be like, no, it doesn't, and here's why. But it does, and let's be clear. This does put the President of the United States above the law, as the Constitution clearly depicts. Okay, this is what the founders wanted, and it's important to give a layman's understanding of why this is the case. Okay, it is important to know that this is not a blanket state or a blanket action so that the president can just go break the law, do whatever they want. Okay, the idea here is that the President of the United States must take the United States and the Constitution into account above themselves. In other words, they must act in accordance with what they believe is going to be best to fulfill their oath of defending the Constitution and to act in the best interests of the United States. And that cannot be done if they have to take into consideration in the back of their mind, if I were to do this official act, could I be prosecuted later? You have to remove that possibility. And I know people will say, well, that's not fair. Well, it's exclusive, okay? In this particular case, with the President of the United States, it is the case. And you could say, well, ambassadors, enjoy their own levels of immunity, and that's true, okay? Diplomatic immunity does offer similar types of protections, but that's for different reasons. In this case, the president must be able to make decisions based upon what's in the best interests of the United States, even if doing so, and believe me, there are times when a president engaged in an official act is technically breaking the law. They cannot be questioning whether or not, if they do this, then that means that they can be prosecuted later. That's why absolute immunity is so important. That's why it was put into the Constitution. This is an interpretation. Okay, this isn't like the Supreme Court justices just slapped on the immunity badge onto the president. No, it was brought into question by special counsel Jack Smith. Okay, with his cases, and now those cases are essentially dead. Let's go to an article that explains it a bit more over at notthebee.com. Patriots in control. Greg Price posted a tweet. The Supreme Court has sided with President Trump, ruling that presidents cannot be held criminally liable for official actions of government and delivering a nuke to Jack Smith's January 6th indictment in the 6-3 decision. Let's jump ahead to, this is from John Roberts, Chief Justice John Roberts, who wrote in the opinion, "We conclude that under our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power requires that a former president have some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts during his tenure in office. At least with respect to the president's exercise of his core constitutional powers, this immunity must be absolute. As for his remaining official actions, he is also entitled to immunity. At the current stage of proceedings in this case, however, we need not and do not decide whether that immunity must be absolute or instead whether a presumptive immunity is sufficient. The president enjoys no immunity for his unofficial acts, and not everything the president does is official. The president is not above the law, but Congress may not criminalize the president's conduct in carrying out the responsibilities of the executive branch under the Constitution. And the system of separated powers designed by the framers has always demanded an energetic, independent executive. And this is true. The president, therefore, may not be prosecuted for exercising his core constitutional powers, and he is entitled, at a minimum, to the presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts. That immunity applies equally to all occupants of the Oval Office, regardless of politics, party, or policy, or whatever. This doesn't mean, back to the article, this doesn't mean that the left can't go after Trump in those gray areas between official and unofficial actions, but it certainly does help Trump's legal woes. Court deems, and this is from LB, Beyond, I don't even know, Beyond Rees Doubt. Okay, so probably an attorney. Court, I don't know who this LB is, but anyway, court deems conversations between Trump and Pence regarding certification is official conduct, but then court states that the government can't rebut the presumption of immunity under the circumstances. So in other words, lots more litigation. So yes, this isn't the end of it, but this is definitely the end for a lot of what Jack Smith is trying to do, especially as it pertains to January 6th, but we can cover that some other time. Bottom line is this, is that a president that I like the way that, what was the wording? Hold on. What was the wording he used? President's therefore, blah, 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 blah. I don't see it. I'm reading too slowly. Anyway, what do you call it? Well, I'm going to have to read it now. Give me a second. Apologies. I thought I knew exactly where it was. Always demand. There it is. The framers had always demanded an energetic, independent executive, and what they mean by that is, so the laws are written by Congress, right? Congress writes the laws, and the laws are therefore they apply to everybody, assuming they're signed. But is it possible that a law could be written specifically to, for example, catch a president engaged in a criminal act? Okay, yeah, it's possible. I mean, we've never had that as far as I know. While technically speaking, we had it in New York, but that was for a civil case, with crazy old E. Jean Carroll. But as far as Congress writing laws that would put the president in jeopardy, criminalizing an action that they could do under the official terms, that's something that is possible. And except it's not legal. The Constitution protects against that. The idea of having a robust and energetic executive branch separate from any laws that Congress could pass while performing official acts under constitutional authority, again, very specific. This is designed, again, as I noted earlier, this is to prevent a president from having to take their own future into consideration. A president must be able to act accordingly based upon what's going to be best for defending the Constitution and doing what's best in the best interest of the United States of America. And if they have to think in the back of their mind or consult with his attorneys on a regular basis, say, if I do this, could they prosecute me later? If I were to bomb Soleimani, does that qualify as something that they could prosecute me for later? Okay, things like that. I mean, you can't just go out and order, for example, the assassination of a terrorist. You couldn't. I couldn't. But the president could. But what if, for example, they were to say, no, you can't do that. That's murder. That's murder for hire. You're under arrest, former president, whoever. Of course, I mean, under the official actions, under constitutional authority, the president must be able to act without concern for their own future, their own safety, their own security, their own freedom. This is why it was put into place. Makes it to where not only does the president doesn't get hampered by or weighted down by their own personal future, but Congress can't think, I wonder how we can use laws to limit the president. We might not be able to write a law that can stop them from doing this, but we could criminalize it so that after they're out of office, then we can arrest them. And so with that threat in mind, then they're not going to do it. And so you get the idea. Hopefully you get the idea. If you're not getting the idea, there's a good chance that either I didn't explain it well or you're a leftist. It's probably the former, by the way, if you're listening to this show, but you get the idea. We've got a big show today. Lots of stuff to talk about, but I wanted to lead with that because that's great news. I mean, it really is great news. It's not maybe as good as a lot of people are saying, because there is still, this isn't over. It's not like, oh, he's got immunity, now all of his cases are going to go away, all the lawfare is ending. No, don't forget, we're dealing with the uniparty swamp here. We're dealing with the globalist elite cabal. They're going to find other ways to try to slow him down, to even try to stop him through lawfare. So this isn't the end, but it sure is good news. It sure is great to see the Supreme. And by the way, this should have been 9-0. There's absolutely positively no reason, no valid reason to make it to where you can criminalize official actions under constitutional authority of a president. Like the three Supreme Court justices that voted against it. I mean, they're basically voting for the destruction of the Constitution, the elimination of the executive branch, and the downfall of the United States of America. Of course, they could do that because they knew that the other six justices were going to vote. They basically, I'm hopeful that they did this because it was a show of whatever virtue signaling from the bench, knowing that their vote wouldn't matter. But deep down, all nine of them, and pretty much any attorney, any judge in America that's being honest, would say, yeah, I guess, even if I don't like Trump, but this is correct. This is how the Constitution was written, and it also makes logical sense because we don't want an executive branch that is beholden to the legislative branch, because then the separation of powers is eliminated, and we have an imbalance, and everything goes all to crap. So, hopefully that's the case. Hopefully it's not that they really are just that stupid. Speculation continues about whether or not Joe Biden will drop out. I still think that he will, but who am I? I've been saying that for months. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe there's a reason for that. And I actually, later on in the show, I actually discuss 3 reasons why he may or may not drop out. But first, before we get to that, here's a tweet that dropped this morning from Tucker Carlson. With some interesting take. According to Tucker, from an unusually good source, Obama's tweet supporting Joe Biden was disingenuous. In private, Obama is telling people Biden can't win, and he's therefore in favor of an open convention. Obama will not say whom he supports, nor, as of yesterday afternoon, had he met personally with Biden to deliver the message. Relations between the Obamas and the Bidens have never been warm. At times, they've been hostile. But recently, they've deteriorated further, mostly due to Jill Biden. In the hours and days after the debate, she kept her husband cloistered away from anyone who might convince him to drop out. Jill Biden is the driving force behind her husband's re-election campaign, just as she was in 2020, when other members of the family, including Biden's sister Val, considered him too impaired to run. The next generation of potential Democrat candidates understands all this as an opportunity, and they're circling, particularly Gretchen Whitmer, who is promoting herself aggressively, and that's been very obvious. She's actually, I know that Gavin Newsom gets a lot of spotlight, but she's actually been doing far more to insert herself into the spotlight. This is of course the absolute failure of a candidate. Of a governor of Michigan. She's been just utterly abysmal, taking a very great state and turning it into just crap, especially during COVID, and then her reactions after COVID were in many ways even worse. But apparently she's at near the top of the list. Everybody's talking about old Gretch. So we'll see how that goes. Point being is that Tucker, hearing it from Tucker, it's good because these are things that I've heard myself a little bit, but not a credible source, or not from credible sources, according to Tucker, who has an unusually good source. According to this unusually good source, Obama's not on Team Biden, and perhaps he never was. Our border crisis is the most immediate existential threat that we as a nation face. We face multiple existential threats, probably for the first time in our history as a nation. But the border crisis is the one that can hit us immediately. It is hitting us immediately. It's already hitting us. And despite the fact that corporate media is finally starting to come around a little bit to talking about it, they're still toning down the actual problem that we face. This is an invasion. There are repercussions that we see today. There will be far greater repercussions in the near future. I'm going to continue to fight, even though there are those who say that we are beyond the point of no return. In other words, it is too late. We cannot fix this problem. The problem has become too big for us to be able to fix. But we can't think along those lines, can we? I mean, this is one of those situations where unless we know with 100% certainty that it can't be fixed, we got to try to fix it. And even if we do know with 100% certainty it can't be fixed, we still have to strive to defend our nation. And I believe that it will take divine intervention for us to make it through this. And I don't know if it's going to come or not. I pray that it does. But even if there is, whether there is or not, we still have to fight the good fight. Part of the fighting of the good fight is to, in my case, is to alert people, is to try to come up with ideas. And I will have a solution aspect, which even that solution is pretty far fetched, but it's pretty good. That came from Lou Rockwell. But before we get to that, I want to make sure I gotta throw out there is a humanitarian aspect to this. And no, I'm not saying, oh my gosh, we've got to make sure that all of the illegal aliens are living in nice hotels with plenty of food for free and everything. No, I'm not saying that. We'll talk about that here in a minute. What I am saying is that there is a humanitarian threat when it comes to the lies that are being told to the vast majority of the illegal aliens. The ones that are traveling, the quote-unquote migrants that are traveling, they are told lies. They're told lies of what to expect on the trip there. They're told lies about what to expect once they cross over. They're told lies about what to expect once they're in custody, out of custody, roaming free, doing whatever they're supposed to do. Everything about this process is a lie. It's a lie that's being told by non-government organizations, NGOs that are out down there trying to push for open borders. It's being told by government organizations, even, especially world government, United Nations style, World Economic Forum style, WHO style organizations that are really pushing them to, okay, it's open season, everything's going to be hunky dory. You're totally not going to get raped multiple times if you're a girl heading up there. You're totally going to get over to the United States, and they're going to just hand you a bunch of stuff, and there's nothing. It's all going to be hunky dory. And of course, the Biden-Harris regime is complicit, as is the entirety of the Democrat Party. I mean, the entirety. I know there's a handful of Democrats that have been coming out lately and saying, "Oh, we've really got to get a handle on this border crisis." If they truly wanted to get a handle on the border crisis, then they would become Republicans, because there's no way their party is going to do anything other than exacerbate, other than to make things even worse. They, as bad as it is today, Democrats would love it to be far, far, far worse than it is today. They want the invasion to expand. It's weird, because I don't think people understand. We think along the lines of, oh, they wouldn't do that to the country, they wouldn't do that to the people. All they care about, and this isn't just Democrats, by the way, but all they, as in the vast majority of politicians as well as bureaucrats, all they think about is themselves. And from their perspective, they think no matter how bad it gets, no matter how many illegal aliens come across and rape and murder American citizens, it's okay as long as my people, as long as I'm protected. This is how they think. I've grown over the years to become more and more disgusted, of course, with politicians. And granted, okay, it's mostly Democrats. Okay, there's not a Democrat really that I think actually does any benefit to the country, and there are very few that do minimal harm. They all do a little bit of harm just by their very nature. I mean, everything they push is destroying the nation. But then there are those on the right. There are members of the uniparty swamp that do essentially the same while pretending to be conservative. But that's a whole other discussion for another day. All right, let's get to the story. There actually was a point to all this, and this is one. When I read through it, I often read Front Page Mag. It just gives me my morning fill of frustration and anger, right? Open borders subject women and girls in the U.S. to rapes and wanton violence. I could probably just read that, and all you don't need to know anymore. You already know it's true. You know it's true. And yes, even Democrat politicians, they know it's true too, which makes them pure evil, okay? If they know that their policies, that by encouraging, practically begging, and we have Biden begging for a surge to the border before. We've had Democrats talking about, we are a nation of migrants. We're a nation of immigrants. Come on, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. They ignore, intentionally, at least publicly, they ignore the fact that what they're doing is they are encouraging women and oftentimes girls, and sometimes boys too, but at least women and young girls. They're encouraging, they're basically saying, this is what the Democrats are saying. They're saying, if you can survive getting gang raped multiple times on your way to the border, then we will let you in with open arms. We will insert you into the welfare state, and all of that evil that you had to go through, I know it sucks, but hey, We need open borders. We need people. So we're going to lie to you, and we're going to tell you that nothing's going to happen, that everything's going to be okay. Okay, just pay the cartels your life savings and come on over. You'll notice that they're starting to get the picture because, unfortunately, they being the illegal aliens, the migrants, they are starting to get the picture. There's fewer and fewer and fewer women and children coming over. It's all military age men now, of course, because that's part of the plan. Because they, generally speaking, don't get raped on their way here. Their wives do, their children do, but they don't. So they just leave the wives and children at home to suffer, supposedly, in their home countries where there is no, there's no asylum level oppression happening. There's no political oppression. People aren't being jailed in Venezuela just for speaking out against the government. They're not. Now, is it life hard there? You betcha it is, because of the radical leftist socialist government. That doesn't mean that they are being persecuted. And there are certain criteria that are necessary for asylum to be considered asylum. And the vast majority of them don't meet it. I know the Democrats at least pretend not to know this, but financial distress, that's not something that you can use to get asylum. But they just want to come over to get better jobs and to live a better life. That does not qualify them for asylum. If that's what they want, go through the country legally. I am a legal immigrant. Okay? I came here legally. And now I'm a U.S. citizen because we did the process the right way. They are not. They're being told to bypass the process. They're giving a huge middle finger to anybody who has gone through the process or anybody who is trying to go through the process. Anybody who wants to come here legally, they're suckers as far as the Democrats are concerned, as far as the uniparty swamp is concerned. But back to the other victims, the victims that don't get talked about nearly enough. That is the women the women and girls that get raped on their way here and afterwards even, and the people that are doing the raping. We're letting them into the country. You might say, "Oh no, that's just the cartels." Stop it. If you think that, if you think it's just the cartels that are. Anyway, let's get the article. It's by Betsy McCoffey over at Front Page Mag. The United Nations calls it femicide, the wanton assault, rape, and murder of girls and women. It's a cultural epidemic in Latin America. Femicide is visible every step of the way from South America and the Northern Triangle countries to the Mexico-U.S. border. Rape trees where women's panties hang from branches and rape tents where girls and women are dragged by smugglers dot the route. Do you think the rapes stop when the illegals cross into the U.S.? No, and that's obvious. I mean, the stories that we've seen just in the past few weeks make that blatantly clear. These rapists, these disgusting human beings that I would love to get into a room, just me and them, and hopefully they're tied down so I don't have to worry about, I'm not trying to be Mr. Tough Guy. This is just, anyway, whatever. Don't go down that road, Rucker. Anyway, now women are being victimized by migrants bringing femicide to your neighborhood. Where are the women's rights groups? They're silent. They couldn't care less. As a matter of fact, they support this stuff. The women's rights groups, these radical leftist groups, they're like, yeah, no, totally, bring over the rapists. We totally want the rapists here. They don't say that out loud, but they say that with their actions. They say that by supporting open borders, by supporting Democrats. It's politically incorrect to criticize Latin American culture, even if its tolerance for violence against females. Last week in Queens, an Ecuadorian illegal, Christian Giovanni Ingalandi, attacked a 13-year-old girl walking home from school, held her at knife point, and raped her, recording the assault for his own pleasure. Future pleasure. As he proceeded. Yet you have squad member, radical leftist rep, Pramila Jayapal, she laughed it off during news coverage. She laughed. She literally laughed. Said it was fear-mongering. No. It wasn't fear-mongering. Okay? It was not fear-mongering. This 13-year-old girl was raped. Her rape was in broad daylight, at knife point. That happened. This isn't fear-mongering. That's the truth. And Rep. Jayapal laughed about it. I watched it. I'm not going to play it. I don't need to play it. I won't play it. I won't watch it again. Because this woman disgusts me. She is an active and aggressive promoter of mass gang rapes. That's what she wants. That's what she's promoting. That's what she's laughing about. Inga Landi, the illegal alien from Ecuador, has a history of abusing females, including beating his pregnant wife, according to police reports. He crossed the border illegally, of course, in 2021 and was ordered to leave the country by a New York City immigration judge in February of 2022. Over 2 years ago, he was told to leave. Probably went to Rep. Jayapal, and she probably laughed with him. He probably told her about all of the women that he would rape, and she laughed at it, called it fear-mongering. Oh, you're just fear-mongering. You're probably a Republican. What about the 13-year-old victim? Her father adamantly opposes Joe Biden's open border policy because it invites a lot of things that we don't need. We don't need it. And adding it, look what came in. Look what came in. Look what happened to my daughter. Infuriating. Heartbreaking. And yet becoming all too common. Sexual violence against females is rampant in Latin America. A report from the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, this is a division of the United Nations. In other words, they know. The ones that are trying to. Let's be clear about this. The people that are most heavily promoting the idea of the United States border being wide open, the people that are lying to the migrants before they even start heading towards the U.S. border, the ones that are encouraging them, lying, just telling them about how amazing it's going to be, they're very well aware. I mean, they know. They've done the studies. They've done the reports. They know when that UN worker or that NGO worker looks that woman in the eye and looks at that woman's daughter on her lap and says, "Yeah, you'll be safe up there. You'll be everything's great up there." That UN worker knows. In their mind, they're very fully aware. Yeah, you and your daughter are going to get raped all the way up there. Okay, there's a good chance that one or both of you will get murdered. But I still want to encourage you to go to America because we figure if 40, 50, 60% survive, then that will destroy America. We do this long enough, America will be destroyed, and then we can have our multipolar world. Usher in socialism. You guys will be dead, so no worries there. That's just less mouths to feed. We can pray to our environmental gods, and we'll be eating beef while everybody else is eating crickets or each other, probably. Maybe they'll dig you up, your dead body, after you've been gang raped multiple times. Maybe they'll dig up your dead body and eat that. That's they'll say these things with a smile. And actually, obviously, they're not saying those things to the person. That's what they're thinking, though. They know this. They know this is going to happen. They've done the studies. They still encourage it. That's how much they hate you. That's how much they hate me. That's how much they hate the United States of America. They're willing to sacrifice all of these people as long as doing so will do harm to us, because that is one of their end goals. To achieve the multipolar world that they envision requires the destruction of the United States of America. They don't look at it like that. They look at it as, we just need to bring America down to everybody else's level. We need to make every place a third world country, including America. And if that happens, then okay, then we're in good shape. We could, of course, try to lift up the rest of the world, but that's so hard, and that'll take too long. Let's just destroy everything. That's much easier. And just like politicians in D.C., these NGOs, these globalists, the United Nations, World Economic Forum, Council for Inclusive Capitalism, World Health Organization, all they care about is themselves. That's it. Individually and as a collective. It's not like they just care about themselves. What are they going to do? What are they going to eat? Where are they going to live? They care about the collective. Okay? And of course they care about their place in hell with Satan, because they've been promised a good seat in hell when they get there. A lot of them have, at least. But that's a discussion for another day. In Mexico, back to the article. In Mexico, femicide is soaring, according to the George Bush Institute at the Wilson Center, a nonpartisan Washington, D.C. think tank. quote from there, gender-based violence remains one of the most significant yet overlooked drivers of our migration across Central America and the broader region. In other words, this is what they're saying, that they're, they're actually saying that because in Central America and South America and these places that femicide, violence against women is so rampant that they should just push them, make them more vulnerable on a 3,000-mile trek to get here where they'll be less vulnerable, even though along the way they're also picking up the very rapists and inserting them into our population. The men that are military age, strong, young, healthy, and have a taste for rape and murder, let's just flood the United States with them. That's the plan. That's the plan. On April 24th, UN official Alice Shackelford warned of an emergency situation in Honduras where she said violence against women is being normalized and the femicide rate has risen to the highest in Latin America. Also reporting on the degree of hatred and contempt against women in Honduras, Migdonia Ayested of the National Autonomous University of Honduras explains that men believe they have the right to women's bodies. And where they want these people to go? Your neighborhood. Your city streets, your hotels. They want. It's not just like, hey, we'll bring them here and rehabilitate them. No, we'll bring them here. We'll give them everything they need, and then we'll set them free. We won't have any idea where they are. We know what they're doing. We know that they'll be out there raping, murdering, stealing, everything. We know that. I mean, they know this. But it's okay as long as it takes down and destroys America, because that's all that matters to them. You are a number. You are a statistic. You don't count. You're an NPC. These women, whether here in the United States, down in Honduras, or anywhere in between, meaningless to these people. Instead of focusing on the problem and really addressing the problem in Honduras, in Venezuela, in Ecuador, they say, let's spread the problem to the United States. We know this is a bad problem. We want to destroy America. Let's bring them together, like chocolate and peanut butter in a Hershey's commercial. Let's do a buddy cop show. Ecuador rapists and American girls. It'll be great. Get them together. Knives and videos. I know I'm being a little bit more facetious, more whimsical than I should be about the topic. That's only to hold back my rage. This stuff, it does. I mean, if there was ever a time, this is it. This is what could drive me to do something stupid, and I won't. Don't worry. Don't call my family or call the police looking for an intervention. I'm not there, but it does, it does bring the dark thoughts. The dark thoughts. I just. It's not just the criminals, the rapists. They're bad enough. It's not just the damages being done to our country. It's bad enough. It's the fact, and this might be the most infuriating part, it's the fact that all of these truly legitimately evil people, like Jayapal, like these NGO people, like these pretty much all the Democrats and the vast majority within the Union Party swamp itself, not only do they know that they're doing evil, they're pretending like they're the ones that are doing good. And that pisses me off. Let's go to a break before I break something. I like being a person who focuses on solutions. I don't always have the answers, but I try to at least know 1 or 2 or 5 different ways that we can address an issue. If we're fighting oppression, we know that we must protest. We know that we must be ready to, if necessary, to revolt. If we're fighting against a government that is just doing the wrong things, well, let's figure out who the right people are and get them into office. Those are the types of solutions that just about anybody can offer. If anybody who's out there doing a conservative or alternative news show, they can at least tell you, go vote and go protest, right? But one thing that we have that's unique about us is that we do actually get involved directly with one particular problem, and that's long-term survival, preparedness. Just in case, hey, let's say we can't stop the destruction of the United States. Let's say we can't prevent the next cyber attack. Let's say we can't prevent an invasion, God forbid, or anything like that. Then at least we should be able to bug in appropriately, and that's why I'm very proud to be one of the owners of a company that services Americans specifically with long-term storage beef. We're talking about the good stuff. It's not beef crumbles or beef chunks. We're talking about ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, sirloin. We're talking about freeze-dried. It's cooked sous vide, so then freeze-dried for a 25-year shelf life. So you're good until 2049 if you buy enough of this stuff. All American beef. We don't import anything. It's born, raised, slaughtered, and then packaged and shipped out from Texas. Doesn't ever leave Texas until it's in a bag heading towards your house. So that's my contribution, so to speak. I know it's not much. I know that there's other people that are fighting really hard, getting into heavy activism, fighting the lawfare side for conservatives and all that good stuff. This is what we've got. I mean, it's different, but hopefully we fulfill a need that you have. Be sure to use promo code JDR. That'll get you the maximum discount at any given time. And as of right now, as you're watching this, that maximum discount is 25% off. So, yeah, stock up. Stock up now. Stock up as much as you possibly can. Get high-quality beef by going to preparewithbeef.com. That's preparewithbeef.com. There was a time not too long ago, probably maybe a decade ago, where I really wanted to get into apologetics. I studied the various types of apologetics. I really wanted to go out there and talk to people. And I remember an incident I had with a close friend, a friend who I don't know. Unfortunately, I've lost track of him. At the time, he was homosexual and an atheist, and I had a captive audience and a long night to discuss things with him. And I thought that I'd made extremely, extremely powerful arguments. But both my amateur nature as well as trying to maybe be smarter rather than just being filled with the Holy Spirit. Long story short is at least at the time, it didn't make an impact. I did not get him to see the light. I did not get him to understand. I've regretted that. I mean, it's stuck with me ever since. And now I've told that story before to personally, not on the show, but I've told other people, and they're like, you don't know how God works, obviously, and you don't know if maybe you planted a seed that somebody else watered later. And I actually should probably, now that I mention it, I should take a note and give my friend John a call, see how he's doing, because he is a friend. We didn't have a falling out or anything. We just sort of lost touch. He was on the left, I'm on the right. Things happen, right? But so call John. Got it. So bottom line is that I thought, you know what, I guess my place really isn't necessarily in apologetics. I just need to live the gospel, talk about it, talk about the Bible, encourage people, and leave the debating, the arguing, the revealing truths, leave that to smarter and more inspired people than me. But every now and then I do see, not from me, but I do see some success stories. We do hear about them. And it's pretty rare. Unfortunately, we hear a lot in the opposite directions. We hear supposedly devout Christians that are taken away, pulled into the secular world, pulled into the evil world, taken away from their understanding, their appreciation of Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. So that's why when this story came across my desk this morning, from the Gateway Pundit, it is actually from the Western Journal, who they republish. The Gateway Pundit republishes a lot of their stuff. Jonathan Jones wrote an article titled "Outspoken Atheist Goes Viral After Publicly Coming to a Realization About God." And this is normally the case. This is very similar to a lot of situations where somebody basically they can see that God has to exist. And that's just the first step. Obviously, explaining to them and getting them to read their Bible and to understand the true nature of creation and the true nature, most importantly, of salvation. There's a lot of people out there who believe in the existence of a creator, but who are not devoted to Jesus Christ. And there is a humongous difference there. So, according to the article, once outspoken atheist who previously argued against the existence of God did an about-face on social media on Monday and explained she is trying to further her relationship with him. It's a good start for a person who was vocally opposed to hearing the message of salvation. However, writer Freely Ashley is her name, of the outlet The Publica, acknowledged on the social media platform X that she had encountered a situation that had changed her mind and her heart. She did not explain if she had been connected with the teachings of Christ, but Ashley said she had come to the conclusion that the existence of God was, quote-unquote, obvious. And it is. I mean, if you're out there, if you're listening to my show and you don't believe in God, then maybe you're sitting there, oh, of course it's not obvious. But I don't know about all, but at least for many of us, it is obvious. I mean, if you take away just the religiosity of it all, and you look at the facts, you look at the science, even, it all points to no chance. You and I, you could not be sitting here listening to me based upon the Big Bang and the theory of evolution. That same zone doesn't exist. There is no possible way that we could be here right now if we were not created. Now, again, that is just the first step. We have to get in the gospel. We have to get into the entirety of the Bible in order to start to take that next step. And that next step is, in my humble opinion, it is a lifelong step. It's not something where it's like, okay, step 1, believe that you were created. Step 2, become a Christian. And then step 3, go live your life. No, it's like step 1, understand and appreciate the reality that we must be created beyond a shadow of a doubt. As this Freely Ashley says, it became obvious to her. Right? That's step 1. Step 2, explore, learn, read, pray. That's it. That's the next step and the final step. Now you might say that in that final step we are told to spread the gospel. We are told to discuss it, to make believers of the nations. And I'm always hesitant when I say make believers, because I don't believe that we ever make anybody, that they are believers, not through our words or actions. We can do what we're supposed to do. We can play our part, but that part still falls into God's plan, and God's plan is what ultimately makes them believe. But that's a discussion for another day. Again, I feel oftentimes that I'm just unqualified. I'm not shy. I'm very open about my faith. I am unabashed about it. But with that said, I also don't want to stumble on my words, because that's the biggest problem for many of us, is that we just get stuck in our own words. We don't just let the Bible do its thing. We don't just if anything, I would say that the best thing we could ever do is to just get people to read it. If we can just get that step out of the way, if we can get them down that path, that little just shove, then in many cases that is our role. That is our place in the plan for that particular individual. So she was replying to it. I'm going to go to the tweet itself. Let me see if that works. I've got to take it off there because. Oh no, I don't. I guess I can put it on. Yeah, there we go. So, gentlemen, I don't know who this is. Winston Smith said, the existence of God is the most obvious truth in the universe. Literally, reality itself requires God to exist. We can't even discuss the existence of God without presupposing his existence. So, the positive claim that God doesn't exist, which is the claim atheism makes, is self-refuting. So, there has to be a reason to deny such an obvious truth. This isn't about belief. Everyone believes God exists. Some people just don't believe what he has to say. Faith has nothing to do with God's existence. When someone has faith in God, it means they believe his promises. It doesn't mean that they have faith he exists. Very good point. God himself is the one who said that people who deny him do it because they love their sin. To claim the statement isn't true is simply claiming God is lying. And then this Freely Ashley person, it's back in November of 2023, she's quoting him, the existence of God is the most obvious truth in the universe. And her reply is, it's not obvious to me, friend. Well, let's go. That was, again, November. So let's look what she's saying now. She's quoting, the existence of God is the most obvious truth in the universe. It's not so obvious to me. But then she quoted herself that again later. But this is last week. She has highlights, deep breath. It became obvious to me, and then just a picture of herself, and that's it. And then she explains in the comments how she started wearing the cross about a month ago, about how this is a reminder that she always has an audience. And that might be, it's funny because I don't have to remind myself, I know it inherently, but I often remember when I'm doing things that even if I think I'm alone, I'm not. You're never alone. God sees all. And so keep that in mind, that you always have an audience, even when you think you don't. And are your actions while you're alone, do they match what the Bible would expect from you, even if other people were watching? Are you doing it for their sake or for his sake? Or for your sake? These are all great questions. So, but kudos to Freely Ashley. I pray, Lord, please do what you need to do with her. She seems to be ready to take that next step, that lifelong step. And if anybody, by the way, people, you can always reach out to me. Okay, I've already declared up front, I'm not very good at this stuff, but I'm also open. I'm not shy about it. I'm open to conversation. If you ever want to reach out to me, talk about anything, whether it's faith, culture, religion, my favorite type of spaghetti sauce, which is actually, that's been on my mind a lot lately because I've been on the ketogenic diet, which means that I can't have spaghetti. So it always creeps into my head. But for whatever reason, even in the middle of a show. But if you ever want to reach out to me, go to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk. That goes directly to me. It's not filtered. So you fill out that form. I'm not collecting email addresses. I mean, it looks like I am, but I'm not. I don't do anything with them. It's just literally, that's an easy way to make sure actual humans are reaching out to me. Otherwise, you get the idea. So jdrucker.com/talk, and let's open up a conversation. The Democrat ticket of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden is arguably the easiest ticket of all time to be able to attack, at least incumbent ticket. They're awful as a combo. Nobody likes either of them. I mean, I don't think they like themselves. They don't like each other, that's for sure. They don't, I mean, even when Joe goes out to California, where she lives, her hometown, to fundraise, he doesn't include her, and she leaves town. It's like weird. It's sort of like in Godfather, when you come and visit our mother, you call a day ahead so I know that I won't be here. That was a terrible, terrible impersonation. I don't even think that was Michael. I think that was closer to Vito, but whatever. Point is that they are, as a tandem, they are very easy to attack, and which is why it's sort of unfair that Elon Musk, who is actually really good at attacking people, decided that he was going to hit Kamala Harris where it hurts the most, and that's in her own words, because she is so bad at her words, even when it's on Twitter, where you would think that she or her intern or her assistants or whoever would be able to put out something that's at least accurate, but no. So she had tweeted, Donald Trump would ban abortion nationwide. President Joe Biden and I will do everything in our power to stop him and restore women's reproductive freedom. Of course, that got hit really fast. I didn't even have time. I usually watch for the community notes on those so I can try to get my vote in. I'm a community notes person, so I get to vote on community notes. Anyway, this one beat me to it. I didn't even have a chance to get to it. It got pumped up there fast. The community note reads, President Trump has repeatedly said he will not sign a national abortion ban, and it cites CNN, ABC, Associated Press, New York Times, and even his own words over at Truth Social, saying that he would not support a national ban. And look, I wish he would. I want a national ban on abortion. I do. I'm not scared to say it, but then again, I'm also not running for president of the United States in a deeply divided nation. So I'm not going to dwell on that one. At least he's not pushing for late term abortions like Biden and Kamala, like RFK Jr., like any of those guys. Elon Musk hopped in and he had something to say. One line, just one line. When will politicians? It was really a question. When will politicians, or at least the intern who runs their account, Learn that lying on this platform doesn't work anymore. And he's absolutely right. Now, I shouldn't say absolutely right. He's mostly right. It is true that a lot of stuff gets called out, but sometimes it doesn't. Okay, but in this case where it's unambiguous, I mean, she literally says Donald Trump would ban abortion nationwide, and he's literally said that he would not ban abortion nationwide. That's like if somebody were to come out and say, Kamala Harris got to where she is today politically through hard work and intelligence, we would know that whoever said that was lying, just like we know that her tweet there is a bald-faced lie. There are a few companies out there that can help you to get long-term storage meds. It's something that they don't talk about nearly enough, I don't think. I know that obviously you and my audience, you are preparedness-minded, survival-minded. You have, whether you're a full-blown prepper or you're just, let's keep a few supplies just in case. You fall into the category of at least wanting to be self-sufficient, at the very least. That's why my good friends over at Jace are amazing. You can always use promo code Rucker10 to get $10 off your order. Go to jdrucker.com/meds. That's jdrucker.com/meds, and let's pull them up actually. So their play is a strong one. They offer emergency medications, 28 medications such as ivermectin, antibiotics, anti-malaria meds, just in case you're ever going to Africa, I guess, EpiPens, and more. They also have prescription supplies, and you get all this stuff through telehealth. So it's not like you got to go to your doctor and get it checked out and stuff like this. They offer these things through the mail. You get it mailed to you. It's awesome. Just good stuff. So again, check it out. See if there's something there that you need. I do strongly recommend, just in case you never know when the pharmaceutical supply chain is going to go under or over or whatever. You never know when your pharmacies are just not going to be open, or getting to the pharmacies tough because there's roving bands of leftists, Antifa or whoever, because they get so mad that Trump is reelected that all of a sudden they're like, oh no, burn it all down, and then you just can't go get your meds. Get them. I mean, chronic stuff. You got diabetes, cancer. They have options for you. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what you need, but at the very least, check it out. There's a partial list of infections treated with their life-saving medications. They've got their daily, backup prescription supplies. If there's ever time to get a backup prescription supply, now is the time. So jdrucker.com/meds, MEDS, jdrucker.com/meds, and use promo code Rucker10 at checkout. As I promised earlier, we're going to get to one solution, just one solution that would really bring an end, or at least curtail, the illegal alien invasion that's currently happening at our southern border, as well as in many ways at our northern border. And there is not just one solution. There's plenty of solutions out there. There are the obvious solutions. Number one, just bring back Trump's policies. Okay, Trump's policies worked. Remain in Mexico, it worked. Okay, people were like, wait, so you're telling me that I got to go to the United States, I got to break into the United States, and then they're going to catch me, and then they're going to send me back to Mexico and make me wait for my asylum hearing months, years, decades later. No thanks. People just stopped coming. I mean, they just stopped coming. Then, of course, the Biden-Harris regime stepped in and got rid of all those policies, and they were then put on their best shocked face. Alejandro Mayorkas was like, oh my gosh, yeah, the border is so secure, but it's not, but it is, but it's not, but it is. Mayorkas, whatever. Yeah, there's that. There's, of course, building the wall. Yes, that would help quite a bit. And I remember when they were balking about $6 billion to build the wall, or even if you took the estimates of $20 billion to build the wall, we sent 10 times that much to Ukraine. Okay? Ukraine. Why? Why? When we have an invasion of our own happening at our southern border every day. Build the dang wall. Of course, we have to start deportations. We have to continue deportations until every single illegal alien is out of the country. You might say that's impractical. You might say, oh, we only need to get rid of the bad ones. Whatever. Just start deporting, period. And keep deporting. Just deport. Like, again, for me, deport them all. They're here illegally. They don't need to be here. I'm not, from an unkind position that's like, hey, and as a legal immigrant myself, I know that there are ways to get into the United States of America without breaking the law. Without it instantaneously, the moment that you step a foot in the United States of America, you're breaking the law. And then people say, "Oh, but they're asylum seekers." Folks, anybody who tells you, they're not breaking the law because they're seeking asylum and seeking asylum is legal, explain to them what asylum seeking really is. Okay, the reality, and we're not talking about just the United States, we're talking about the reality of asylum. What asylum is supposed to mean is about political or religious persecution. It's about legitimate fear that if you stay in your nation, that you're going to be captured by government and murdered. Okay, that's when, okay, now we got to go seek asylum. It's not like, oh my gosh, there's no jobs here, or we're really poor here. We need better opportunity like in America. That is not grounds for asylum, period. There are other ways that we can start to mitigate the damage. But I want to turn to an article by Lew Rockwell, the great Lew Rockwell, Common Sense Libertarianism, I guess you could say. He wrote an article, The Absurdity of Open Borders. And it's a great article. I'm not going to read it because it's pretty long. I'll read the beginning. How's that? Well, I'll read the beginning, but then we got to cut to the chase and get to the actual meat of the subject, which is the solution that he's recommending, and he's absolutely right. According to Rockwell, some libertarians argue that libertarianism requires support for open borders, but this is a mistake. Open borders is the view in the existing world of states. The state ought to admit as many people who want to come to the United States as possible. Of course, you don't have the right to occupy property that is privately owned, unless you're a squatter, but that's a whole other story. But much of the property in the United States is public, which means it is up to those who run the state to decide what to do with it. Of course, this is an unsatisfactory situation because we shouldn't have public property, basically, is what he's saying. We really shouldn't have a state, according to Rockwell. We can discuss that some other time, but for now, the question is what to do, open borders or not. The answer is quite clear. Open borders would be a disastrous mistake. The policy would subject the United States to hordes of people with alien ideologies and cultures. As the great Ludwig von Mises pointed out, it would have made no sense to allow immigration from Germany and Japan during World War II. Quote, neither does it mean that there can be any question of appeasing aggressors by removing migration barriers. As conditions are today, the Americas and Australia and admitting German, Italian, and Japanese immigrants merely open their doors to the vanguards of hostile armies. We face the exact same situation today. We have a hard enough problem coping with the alien ideologies and cultures that are already here. Why compound our problem? And that is a great question. But I do want to go skip aside. He's talking about basically trying to convince libertarians that, hey, you don't really need open borders, to be a libertarian. But he gets the point. Okay, here we go. Here's the solution. Aside from the woke problems, there is something else. Those who come here because of open borders can immediately benefit from the welfare state. A massive number of people could come here just to live from welfare payments. Why bankrupt our economy? The well-known free market economist Milton Friedman, hardly an extremist, said you cannot simultaneously have a free market and a welfare state. And in essence, what he's saying, and what he wasn't pertaining to today's situation, but it very easily could. And what Rockwell is saying is that if you're going to have open borders, then you have to eliminate the welfare state. You cannot have both at the same time. You can't, because it's like saying, come here, everything's free, and you'll always be taken care of. If you currently have to work to make just barely enough money to survive and you're living in Venezuela, come to America. You won't have to work and you'll make even more money and you'll survive better. Who wouldn't do that? And we're learning today, a whole lot of people wouldn't do that. As I noted earlier, I mean, there are, whether they're being lied to, which they are, but they can't be completely naive. They can't be completely oblivious to the fact that as women, young girls, children, they're going to be raped and possibly murdered all the way up on their trek up to the U.S. border. Why are they willing to do that? The ones that know, obviously, many of them just don't even realize it because they're promised everything's all safe, everything's great. But the ones who do know, they're still willing to take their chances because of the welfare state. It's not because of opportunity. It's not because, oh man, I can't wait to go get those awesome jobs in the United States. No, that's not what they're thinking. They're thinking, hey, if I get there, then I'll be taken care of. Free health care, free housing, free food, free medicine, free everything. I can do nothing and they'll take care of it for me because as an illegal alien, I'll have actually more rights than American citizens. American citizens, especially if they're veterans, they can go out on the street and starve and die, but they won't let illegal aliens do that. That's what they're thinking because of the existence of the welfare state. If we could completely remove the welfare state, at least at the national level, I can understand having localized programs, and I do believe in that. I do believe in localized programs that are based around it's gonna be crazy, but for example, if you have like homeless shelters that are run by, I don't know, churches or other private charities or organizations instead of the government, well, maybe they might be more effective. Maybe they might actually, I don't know, be able to help these people instead of the current situation where millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and oftentimes billions of dollars are used by these leftist cities to do nothing, to not solve the homeless problem. They don't want the homeless problem solved. They want the money for the homeless problem so that they can get their pet projects and hire their cousins to build tiny homes that nobody will ever live in, and they can charge $600,000 for something that you can buy on Amazon for $25,000. Whatever. I don't want to. That's a whole other issue. Bottom line is this: if we could, as a nation, wean ourselves, it'll take time, but if we can start, somebody needs to start weaning the being a welfare state, but just start basically pulling back on the entire FDR agenda, eliminating it piece by piece by piece, reducing it down, changing the criteria, and making it to where the only people that are quote unquote taken care of by the government are the people that absolutely positively cannot take care of themselves. Instead, we have a system that not only empowers but rewards people. Those who are able to demonstrate some sort of reason why they should be allowed to do nothing and live in poverty, but at least still live without having to do anything, that option should be eliminated. If they have the capability to participate in society, then they should. And if they cannot participate in society, if they have, for example, disabilities, or there's a whole wide range of exceptions there, then help that. But don't reward people, whether they're from Venezuela or Cincinnati, don't reward people for doing nothing or for doing a limited amount. Let's make it to where if you do nothing, then you're not going to be able to survive, except off the kindness of others, and those others would have to be private organizations, not the government, because the government is us, technically speaking, from a pay perspective, and some of us just don't want to pay for free housing for illegal aliens anymore. If you got rid of the welfare state, I assure you, the border crisis, it would eventually solve itself. All right, we're going to end, and I know we're actually technically already over now, aren't we? We're getting close. We're going to end the first hour with a video by Matt Orfalia. I believe that's how to pronounce his name. He goes by Orf. That's the only thing I know for sure. I went and reviewed some of the variations that people call him, and apparently he's got at least a dozen different ways that people pronounce his name wrong. There's only one right way to pronounce it, and I don't know what that is. So we're going to play this video, though. It's called Sharp as a Tack. It's 6 minutes of basically Joe Biden not being sharp as a tack, but more importantly, we've already seen that. You don't need to be bored by that, but I did like this because it's interesting hearing how many people, and hopefully you listen closely, see if you can recognize the voices. I can name about probably 50 or 60% of them. Some of them are new, but basically corporate media cheerleaders plus members of the Biden-Harris regime itself, and maybe some campaign proxies in there talking about how he's sharp as a tack, how he's, behind closed doors, he's this, that, or the other, just making excuses. And for a lot of these were, of course, before the debate. After the debate, you only had the bravest of idiots out there saying, "Oh yeah, no, he's totally sharp as a tack." But there are still some of those out there. Anyway, we're going to play that to end this first hour. If you're watching on RVM News Rumble channel, then I will talk to you all tomorrow. You can see the rest of the show over at Frank's Speech. Second hour goes up over there. If you're watching on Spreely, stay tuned. If you're watching on my Rumble channel at jdrucker.com/rumble, stay tuned there as well. We also have, I'm going to go to make Now, you know what? I'm not going to make the announcement until tomorrow, because tomorrow's when the big thing actually happens. So we'll make the announcement day of. I don't want to dismiss anything that's happened so far with great news with Trump and absolute immunity, bad news with the border, which sucks. But yeah, let's go ahead and go to Matt Orfalia. And if you are watching on RVM News, Lord willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless. And if you're not watching on RVM News, then stay tuned.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart. He's on his game.
His mental acuity is great.
This is a very sharp president.
And the people that I've talked to say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine.
They say he's sharp.
There's not a problem.
He was sharp. He was sharper than anyone I've spoken to.
The president is sharp, and he is tireless.
He is sharp as ever.
And he's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
His brain is good. He's still great.
He is sharp in meetings.
I believe the people who say that behind closed doors, Joe Biden remains sharp.
In meetings, Joe Biden is sharp.
He's sharp. He's fit.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp. He's sharp as a tack.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
Actually, Joe Biden is sharper and has more mental acuity than Donald Trump, because more people believe that actually Joe Biden's mental acuity is better than Donald Trump.
I mean, he's sharp. He's funny. He's sharp as a tack.
Kamala Harris says he is up to this task. He's, sharp as a tack.
He's smart. He's energetic.
One of the themes this election cycle is that Joe Biden is too old to lead. And so everyone is seizing upon this. And it is a classic disinformation tactic. If you edit it in such a way, you can make it appear that he fits this narrative, that he is slow, that he is wandering off.
I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap. 8.
President Biden has proven himself to have a strong memory.
He has a great memory.
His mind is just as quick as ever.
He is sharp enough.
So Biden was sharp and on top of it.
President Biden is sharp. He's focused. He's bright.
The president is sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack.
President Biden's doctors say he is in good physical and cognitive health.
Joe Biden, sharp as a tack.
The president was sharp as a tack.
The president's very sharp because he is so sharp and he's on top of everything.
He seems right on top of it. The man is competent, alert.
Fully cognizant and sharp.
He's completely mentally sharp.
He's sharp. He's engaged.
He is sharp. He is engaged, and he is commanding.
That's pretty sharp.
Mentally sharp.
Biden was sharp.
Sharp and substantive.
He is very sharp.
And he's as sharp as a tack.
Biden is sharp.
The president is sharp and as able as ever.
This is a man that's on his game.
He was focused. His recall was good.
He was actually quite sharp and on top of it.
He is on the ball.
And you're going to see how smart he is. And
This guy's as sharp as a knife.
Tonight, he may have to channel both the president in him and the bruising, brawling candidate in him, and maybe a little bit of Eminem in his famous 8 Mile rap battle.
I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come from a household where the kitchen table, if things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem.
You see him interact. You see him engage. He took some questions and is sharp with his answers.
What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare
He's actually perfectly sharp. He's totally focused. He's very sharp. And the proof is in the performance.
I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay. And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans.
I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
And there's no question that Biden presents stronger, younger, more energetic.
The president has no impairment.
I see his vigor. I see his energy. I say his age is an asset.
Aha, he's wise.
Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He's at the top of his game.
I think he's better than he's ever been.
Sharp as a tack.
As I said, very sharp, incredibly engaged, strong, steady. He's always on the ball.
Not only is he fit to do the job, he's doing a hell of a damn job.
I thought he was sharp.
His strength is unshakable.
Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong.
The White House said Biden is sharp and his critics are playing partisan politics.
That's the definition of disinformation.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
President Biden is absolutely fit.
There's no doubt in my mind that the president is mentally fit for office.
I'm coming directly to you for ask a quick favor.
Beautiful video.
Or whoever made that, it's spectacular.
Man, this was awesome.
Just perfect.
Really interesting video.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
It almost made me cry.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Hysterical.
It's fantastic.
This is the best.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Do I have it right?
You know, that's how famous Orf is.
All right, let's play a little Jeopardy here. The answer is this bar. This bar is the answer to the question I'm about to ask. The question, though, is how do you carry around wealth in your wallet? How do you make wealth that's portable, that you can break apart because it's perforated, that you can use for emergency situations as a way to have essentially wealth in your wallet? Well, that's why we have the Prepper Bar, and I'm very excited to introduce it to you. It will be both silver and gold. It's available, and it's an awesome little 62-gram bar that literally fits in your wallet. I wish I had my wallet with me. I do. I have it right here. I'm going to demonstrate because I'm not just playing around here. Here's my wallet, if you can see it on the screen. And here's my Prepper Bar. You could take it. I'm not going to break it because this is mine. But you could take it. You could break apart little bits and pieces from it. It is absolutely amazing. I am super, super proud and super blessed to have this available as wealth, literally wealth in my wallet. You too can own your own Prepper Bars. You can get a bunch of them, stick them in the safe. You can put 1 or 2 or 5 in your wallet or in your purse or wherever to keep with you just in case. You know, you take a bar, you might have to shave off parts of it. Well, you wouldn't have to do that here. If you need to trade or barter for food or safe passage or anything like that, Prepper Bar is the answer. And it is available exclusively from the one company. If you are interested, then go. You don't even have to tell them I sent you. Just go visit prepperbarnow.com. That's prepperbarnow.com.